All right, it's now time for raising funds for World Domination, Day 112. So here's the standard intro. No updates on the renovation situation. Today I continued work on the next video. I worked on just making a graphic for this one. That's most of what I did today. And as in previous streams, we're going to continue working toward the next release of the terminal block mining simulation game. And so I think I can actually remove that item, because that's conclusively done, assuming that I don't find new bugs in it. And last night I started work on the refactor of the test cases to fully support the multi-column, to generalize it so we can hopefully seamlessly support multi-column characters. Orthoplex 64, as always, you're number one, or as almost always. All right, game still compiles. Run the tests. Tests run. It's probably good enough. Those are a lot of tests. They're basically just fuzz tests, so they're not, it's kind of a lazy way of trying to cycle through all the different permutations of edge cases and stuff. There's all kinds of edge cases, so what it does is it takes a 10 by 10 layer, puts 10, like between 0 and 10 characters on each layer, and then tries to merge them together. So like corner cases, like for example, if the character is identical, so there's a 1 in, I guess what is there, probably it's like a 1 in 10 chance for a 10 by 10. There's a 1 in 10 chance of having a character there, and there's a 1 in 10 chance, 1 in 26 chance of it being a specific one, and then the chance, yeah, I guess it's 1 in 26 chance of it being the same character in that position. And then when you factor in like whether there's color codes there and whether they match, it makes sense to just run a few thousand. you say this program hydrates the terminal? Speaking of hydration, I'm off to get a cup of water. I wouldn't use that phrasing. I know some people use the word hydrate to mean like deserializing objects, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how you would apply that word to this game. Something hydrate Dom. Yeah, I don't completely know the definition of how people use that. I've heard of it. I've heard it being used as in hydrating an object. That might be like new terminology that web people have invented in the last few years. There's always these new fad words that I'm kind of outside that bubble now. Has our day been very wayment today? It's been pretty wayment. Glad I wasn't the only one confused about how hydrate is used different than deserializing. Yeah, it's not a word that I've heard a lot. I think I've heard it more. I've heard it in the context of hydrating the object, like taking an XML or JSON document and using that to hydrate an object. Seems like lazy loading. I don't know. Sometimes the definitions of stuff change over time, but as far as I understand that word, I can't make that association. reactive. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess you said hydrating the DOM. Maybe that could make sense because it's probably like hydrating the DOM, which is an object from a serialized version somewhere. I guess maybe through AJAX requests. Attaches event listeners. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that use of the term. PayPal is now blocked on Steam. That's an interesting turn of events. PayPal is pretty annoying, but from what I understand, it's usually like smaller payment, smaller companies and stuff that have issues with PayPal. I would expect that a company like Steam would be able to sort that out. PRMS Development says hi. How's it going? They want to take the games away, I guess. Or they want to boss game companies around. PayPal situation is same as Visa and MasterCard. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I don't follow that situation much. I know that people have been putting up a big stink about it, so maybe they'll reverse it. feel like the situation is worth following because it will affect everyone. It's a matter of privacy. Yeah, PayPal has been known for years. Like when I've looked into it for using business payments, I've heard a ton of horror stories about how they'll like arbitrarily shut it off and then like hold your payments. Like if your business starts doing well, they'll start like putting massive holds on your cash and with like indeterminate times, and there's tons of people have been like suing PayPal for years. Can't get their money out. I don't know, it seems kind of arbitrary just to mess with like gamers randomly. Like there's already like if you publish a game that has an illegal thing in it, there's already a law. Like there's a separate there's like the FBI and the local police force and every other kind of agency that can pursue crimes. We don't need banks policing criminal activity. I like the idea of privacy, but under no illusion that there really isn't any. Yeah, I mean, even it's not even just about privacy too. Like your bank and payment processor should not be able to dictate what you do. Like maybe only if there's like a risk profile or something, like a financial risk, but payment processor duopoly is crazy in the US. I guess there's also Stripe, but people don't use it as much. Gamers and censorship goes way back. Yeah, that's not surprising, I guess. Yeah, it's interesting that they're ramping that up now, given how many other crazy things are going on in the world. Maybe it's just to distract us. normalizing erosion of privacy slowly. Yep. Pretty soon everything is going to have to be public. Every person will have to have an API. You'll have to have a publicly hosted API at your own expense so the government can check in on you. And you'll have to give them a security key to access it, but then it'll get leaked. And companies will use it to spy on you and to figure out what you're dreaming about so they can sell it to you. So how many hours would you say you've put into this? Over 1,000? That's a good question. I guess from back of the envelope math, we'll see. I'm on day 112. Working on in the evenings. Yeah, I guess it could probably be on that order of magnitude. So for 2.5 hours per stream times 112 approximately, and then I've worked on it quite a bit off stream. I'm not very productive on stream. What are you making? I'm currently working on a terminal-based video game that I can illustrate in a moment. It's a video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks in the Linux terminal. And currently I'm working on some test cases to fix a number of bugs in the user interface. So here's the game. You wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe. You spam the M key, get to mine blocks. They show up in your inventory, and eventually you find some, if I can find some here. There's a few display issues with the UI, but I'm working on those. Will it have microtransactions? Of course. I already got some, oh, there we go. There's some iron ore. I've had a lot of feature requests for loot boxes. Oh, here's some more ore. There you have it. It's awesome. Good luck. Really late for me, so I have to go. Have a good night. Bau going? 131 says hi. How's it going? Are the ors in the terminal ASCII? If you run the game in like a pure console mode that can't display ASCII characters, it'll fall back to just rendering the first letter of the class name. So because it can't render emojis, but in a graphical terminal, they can actually display emojis. It just displays emoji characters. Hey man, love the content. Gotta say, I hadn't heard an accent that Atlantic Canadian since I was working in Fort Mac. Interesting. I find it amusing when people say I have an accent, because I guess I watch so much like American media and stuff. To me, I don't have an accent. But I've been told that I have a very Canadian accent occasionally. N5N Echo says, hola. How's it going? Alright, I got 2 questions asking what I'm working on, so we'll compile it and give a demonstration. So this is a terminal-based video game. There we go. As a terminal-based video game that you can play in the Linux terminal, where you wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe, and you spam the M key to mine blocks of iron ore, among other minerals. And they show up in your inventory, and you can press the C key to craft with them. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it's crafting some stone pickaxes there. I could go down to the inventory and select things. Use a stone pickaxe and mine out to a larger radius. I can mine some wood. Yeah, and that's basically it. You go up here and the world renders. There's some UI glitches at the moment, which I'm working on. And that's basically it. It's not right. How much to donate for Georgia? If you succeed, the state. I'm not quite sure I understand the question. You mean for world domination? Or just North Georgia? So the plan is going to be just to start with a place called Axel Heiberg in the high Arctic. Oh, I thought I almost had it. Game Dev Chad, how's it going? What are we doing? Currently, we are working on some test cases for a terminal block mining game. Talking to some bald guy online. You did hair transplants. Congratulations. Legendary Robert, what's up? My brother. The genius. Now you look like a Braveheart for Mel Gibson. Nice. You may not see it, but you're a genius. Oh, thank you. That boosts my self-confidence. Why does dopamine feel so good? Do you chase dopamine hits? I made a video that will trick YouTube into thinking that if you watch it, you're 18. Well, alright, I'm sure there's lots of people who are doing stuff like that. Do you think of living a life chasing dopamine? It doesn't sound very productive, unless that dopamine comes from wholesome activities. The concept of like neurotransmitters like dopamine to reward you for certain activities, that evolved for a reason, because it was correlated with survival. But now we have a lot of distractions, so you gotta find the things that the productive survival related things that produce dopamine. There's also several different variations of dopamine. There's dopamine, the neurotransmitter, and then there's dopamine receptors. There are multiple subtypes of dopamine receptors. And certain diseases like Parkinson's disease are caused by the death of dopamine neurons. And an interesting fact is that there's medication you can get to help with Parkinson's, and it upregulates dopamine, and one side effect of it is compulsive gambling and like addictive behaviors. This should work, but it does not. Longboarding, skating, snowboarding, dirt biking. It's fun, but chasing dopamine daily brings serious lows. Maybe. I don't know if they're. I think if you keep it in the realm of like just normal activity, the human mind can cope with it. Not expect this to not work. How you understand that all that code looks very confusing. To understand all that must be very intelligent. I don't know. I think the most intelligent people probably spend their time doing better things than coding. It just takes lots of practice. You just have to spend thousands and thousands of hours. Start, I guess, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu soon. Then I'll do kickboxing. Always chasing a new thing. My biggest fear is ending up like my grandparents' hobby. Let's watching TV all day. Yeah, martial arts is a decent thing to do. That'll keep you active. It's good for your mental health, good for your confidence. Coding is about passion, not necessarily intelligence. The more intelligence will make you a better programmer. Yeah, I think there's a certain type of intelligence. There's different ways to quantify intelligence. You need a persistence to be a programmer more than anything. What's going on? What's this world domination you're pursuing? I have a video on my channel that's called My Plans for World Domination, and that video explains the plan in detail. How much would you say you love money? That's a strange question. Everyone loves money. So it helps you do things. All right, let's see if I can figure out why it's not working. That might be why. Stonks greater than money? That's true. They have dividends. This should give me the same thing, but it's not. Coding and trading is all I do now. Dopamine balance is non-existent. That just means you get all your dopamine from coding now. And trading. Oh, that's why. Nice. All I do is code, read, and watch other dudes code on YouTube. Excellent. That just means you're locked in. How are you without glasses reading terminal text? I'm supposed to wear glasses, but I don't. I got contact lenses, but I never wear them because they're too much work to put in and out. And they're expensive. Probably embarrassing how often I type git commit-m. Yeah, when I'm on stream here, like I usually I just put any message just to commit something, and then I merge it in later. Sometimes I don't even use what I code on stream. Do eye push-ups and keep your lenses exercised? It's too much work. My work is easy because I use ClickUp. ClickUp. I don't know what that means. Get a big enough monitor. Don't need glasses. Yeah, it would be nice to have a dedicated monitor where I can look at the chat and read it in big letters. I really have to squint. And if there's like a really bright spot beside a piece of text, it gets hard to read. Like those like that number 3 beside game dev chat. If there's a word under that, it gets kind of blurry. Can't touch any code before 6 p.m. That's late. Two best investments for programmers: a great chair, a good monitor. I think this chair, you guys can probably hear it squeaking every now and then. I think I paid like $3 for it in like a used furniture store. Good headphones and a solid amp to drive them. Yeah, these headphones are pretty decent. I like them. Too much pickiness about pixel defects. Be nervous about buying a 57-inch dual UHD wide. A few years ago, I fully abused Amazon's return policy, buying 14 monitors and returning them until I got 5 with 0 defects. Oh, so you would buy one and then like just keep returning the ones with defects? That's a pretty high defect rate. Here it's even higher lately. Wow. That's pretty bad. It's kind of amazing they let you... I guess if you actually bought 14 monitors and returning them all the time. I bought a preamp for like podcasting. And it has like multiple inputs on it from Amazon. And it was, I thought maybe I just didn't know how to use it, but it was completely dead on arrival. And I had to return it. So I had to like, when it made me return it, I had to drop off the original. And I had to drop it off at some like completely random gas station. In like a random, hard to get to place in some subdivision. What's up, Robert? Just saying hi. How's it going? Miss Jess. Must be lucky I bought 15 monitors over 25 years. Never had a dead pixel. I don't know why it's showing as Miss Jess. I'm. So there's like a, yeah, there's like two different names. There's like a display name, and then your like YouTube username, and I've seen it. It's actually switched back and forth a couple times. Like there's a couple of people here. Like this another guy, Yoshikaga Kira. His username is like has some random number on the end of it right now, but normally it would just be his like display name. Yeah, I thought they were like they brought it in as like a temporary test. Like I came in one day and it was hard. I didn't recognize people's names. And then it went back the next day. I was like, oh, they just like switched something up for no reason. They were like testing something and they switched back. But then now it's switched back the other way for the last like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. It's kind of annoying because there's I mean it's hard enough to like remember context from like so many random chatters on the internet. With constantly changing people's names makes it even worse. Don't like to be tracked. It's too bad. In the internet, in the future, everything will be tracked. The government will know everything about you. And everything will get hacked and leaked all the time. Bob F9 X1K says hello. How's it going? I've already had my personal details stolen from a bunch of companies which don't know how to do security. That's probably most of them. And I mean these days even like governments I'm sure are getting hacked. Including telecommunications company. Yeah, I mean I think there's I've read in like some cybersecurity news that like China has compromised like internet service provider like Cisco equipment in various places, and I mean they had they even got like privileged access to like a court system, so they could like see evidence that was being submitted in court cases and stuff. So yeah, we need to work a bit more on our cybersecurity. Or I guess we'll have to all just live in the forest. You can't hack the forest. Let's see. So I have to calculate a bunch of the goal here is to pre-calculate which characters are going to end up being occluded by other characters. Actually, I might not have too much more left to do on this. What website guides would you recommend for a cybersecurity beginner? I'm not really an expert on cybersecurity, but I would say that cybersecurity in general is, there's so many things to know. Basically, like really you could just pick any specific area of computer science, like in programming languages or operating systems or anything. And then you can just ask, like, what is the security implications of Python? What's the security implications of web servers? What's the security implications of like parsing and stuff? And for each of those questions, there's a whole subset of like, for websites, there's header injections and cross-site scripting, and for Python there'd be a whole class of like vulnerabilities and frameworks and stuff. For parsing things, there's going to be buffer overflows, so you can look into like how some languages can mitigate that, address space layout randomization and stuff. It's like endless topics depending on what specific area you focus on. Okay, I think what I'll do for this is make an enum. I want to go deeper in reverse engineering on malware and stuff. It's a huge headache, though. Yeah, that stuff can get pretty advanced. I would say you probably want to, I guess if you want to research malware, I would say focus a lot on operating system theory. So depending on, I don't know if you're specializing on a platform, like whether Linux or Windows, I would say if you learn a lot about how shared objects work or dynamic libraries and things like how executables are loaded into memory, executable loader formats, code pages, the code page, BSS sections, stuff like that. Operating system permissions, those kinds of things. If you learn that stuff really well, that'll kind of lead you to all the other aspects of, because a lot of malware needs to hook into really specific stuff in the kernel. Learn assembly. That would be useful. I think knowing assembly, like knowing how programs are compiled and stuff, would probably help quite a bit, because a lot of malware does like really strange things, and like probably starts from like compiling something with a compiler and then like manually editing the assembly to do something funky that the compiler would never generate. SVIP says, hi, how's it going? Just came from your latest video, the one on jobs. It seems like it's performing decently. I think it's got 30,000 views or something now. I think it's kind of some basic advice, but it's probably there's so much like very low quality advice on YouTube. I think maybe it'll make a difference for someone. What are you doing right now? Currently, I'm working on some test cases for a terminal-based video game that I'm working on. How does it work? I'll fire up the compile it and give it a demo. The language is Java. So this is the game. You wander around an infinite procedurally generated universe, and you spam the M key to mine blocks. So here we're mining some wood. You can also go down into the caves. So you press the X key. There's some rendering issues with the background at the moment, but so yeah, that's moving down into the cave. And as you move around the map, it just procedurally generates and inserts into a database. There's some ores, so you can go down to those and mine all sorts of other stuff. And that's about it. There's not much more to the game loop. It's pretty simple. You can add some random coins between rocks, like how Bitcoin miners do. Yeah, there's lots of potential for it in the future, I think. Right now I'm working on there's issues with the display and how the screen gets rendered, so I'm going to focus on fixing that, and then I'll probably add some I think maybe once I finish this next performance related release, after that I'll probably focus on some add like a better recipe system or something. That might be a bug. How much time it took you? Too much time. I'm gonna go watch your silicone rank. It's silicon, not silicone. Silicone is silicon atom paired with like an arbitrary reactive group. But silicon, that's just the element itself. It's a pretty decent video, I think, but I think the sound quality wasn't the greatest on it. It had a lot of echo. It took me quite a bit of time to make that video, but it didn't quite get the payoff. Silicones are OP. More things should be made of them. You know, I haven't really thought much about silicones. I guess what I only know of the ones you like silicone caulking that you put around doors and stuff. I'll stream it 24/7 for 3 weeks. You could. Then you'll get a content. Well, YouTube does find. Like occasionally I'll get there's these people that stream stuff and they just stream like reaction to stuff. So they just sit there like watching random videos that come up on the homepage, and every once in a while I'll get a content match saying that someone else used my content, and I have an option to like request to be taken down and stuff. I usually just like don't do anything because I want to see like that, you know, they're watching the content, but does them watching my content actually steal any views? But in most cases, like someone will react to it, and it's quite sad. Their reaction, which is really terrible, They're just like sitting there watching it. It'll get like 1 view or something. That must be such a huge waste of bandwidth for YouTube. There's so many like 8-hour-long sessions of people just like sitting there watching other videos and not providing commentary, and the videos like they're not getting super chats or anything. It's just no one's watching them. A lot of lonely people out there. Yep. It's the way the world is going, and people are getting lonelier. Have you seen the graph of the number of 30-year-old people? The percentage of people, the percentage of 30-year-old people who are married and have a house, and it's just like going down like a rock. A lot of Delulu people. Yep, lots of that too. How did you find out you love coding? I was interested in it from a young age, around 14 or so. I just thought it was very interesting. And then I guess originally I thought about going to university for pure math, and then I decided to maybe go into software development because it was still very interesting to me, and I was already coding a lot by that point. And I figured the job prospects would be a lot better, which was very correct. Although, in hindsight, I would have been way better off financially to go into a 9-to-5 company and stay there for the last 10 years. The bull market in tech ended a lot more abruptly than I think anyone thought it would. And the completely insane levels of immigration have also made it difficult to figure out what the future holds. Don't understand how it can be lonely. There's billions of people in the world to talk to. That's true. But you gotta meet them and stuff. I mean, the challenging thing with building relationships now is like the natural way people build relationships is you go to a place to work or do stuff, and then you just like in the workplace, you don't immediately walk up to everyone and like shake their hand and try to start some long conversation and be like, so what do you do? What are your hobbies? You just like go to work and you're beside someone and you maybe have like small talk, and then after like a couple of days, then you might ask them more detailed questions and stuff, and it's like the normal way to socialize is way less confrontational, but now you have to go to like the only avenues available are like speed networking events and stuff, and the people who go to those are a very certain type of people. You're describing the way men operate? Women just talk to each other? Well, you can do that as a man, but the rules of social interaction are, well, not necessarily rules, but like if you are a woman, you're immediately less threatening. So, like if a random man comes up to you, you gotta have your sixth sense awake and be like, is this a person trying to get something from me, or are they crazy? Or nice thing about being lonely is you're available for a lot more opportunities. I guess so. You can work all the time. All right, so I need I'm going to have 3 different states. One is, when a column is solid, and then the other 2 is going to be when it starts at a position off of the layer, of the base layer. I'm trying to like coding. You're trying? Is it really challenging? Some people don't are not into it. Are you saying men avoid talking to each other because they're wary of talking to men? I think it's just well, I mean, like saying it the other way. I found, like in the, in the few times when, if I'm in a circumstance where I'm walking around and there are women with me, every single random person will try and talk to the women, and it becomes like difficult. Like I can recall like a number of times I'm just out walking around with a woman, and then like random homeless people like will try to start conversations with her, and like everyone are way more they're always trying to initiate conversation and comment on things, and like random people on the bus will just come up and make comments and assessments, and whereas as a guy, if you're on your own, you're just way more invisible. That's called harassment. Maybe, but it's like I say, it's not necessarily like if you just I don't know, if someone just makes a neutral observation about, like you bought something at the store, you bought like a monitor or something, and someone would be like, oh, so you bought a monitor, that's a good monitor, or just make random. They'll try to initiate small talk a lot more. But I mean, back to the like the thesis statement about loneliness. There's just there's way less venues to do anything, and also we have to work more. We can know third places. We also have a much more gender segregated economy, and the filter bubbles that we're in. As you said, if you're a woman, you're one of the very few women who have viewed this live stream, because according to my stats, I think it says like it's like either 99% or 100% male. I mean, this is only like, there's obviously other places you can go, but I think it's this is the first time in history where it's even been possible to like to exist in an environment where in school, in work, and also in like online environments where everything is like extremely gender concentrated. And it's also the same for women too. Like the political shift with women, that women are by and large mostly leaning left. So that's increasing division. We've got there's like 4 or 5 different trends that are kind of converging together to make everything much less social. Confined O sign says, "Yo, what?" Exclamation mark. Calzone party? No, I'm done with calzones. What are your thoughts on the youth unemployment crisis? It kind of sucks. But I don't know. Maybe we can solve the unemployment crisis through more immigration. Five, 6, 360 says, "Hi Robert in chat. How's it going?" How's the progress on the test cases? I feel like I'm getting there. I'm making progress, but it still feels like I'm just infinitely spinning my wheels and going further into the depths of insanity. But I think there's not too many more things I have to write. I'm basically like writing the same thing twice, but in completely different ways. One is like super slow and hopefully correct, and the other is like slightly different and designed to be fast. I wanted to avoid this, but I guess it's so much work and time consuming, but it's if the user interface is bad, that'll just completely negate the usefulness of this project. starts less than 0, it's occluded, it's getting cut off on the left. What are your thoughts on Klarna and similar apps? I'm not even familiar with what that is. It's like a modern lay-by, except you get the product right away, then pay off a company. Okay. Oh, so you're like buying stuff on finance? Apps lets you pay off cheap things in installments. You can even finance a Costco hot dog. It's just it's another sign of the end times, and the fact that we will all soon be in debt slavery. Make their money by charging insane fees if you miss a payment. Yeah, this this is not sustainable as a society, like this debt. And it's not just like finger wagging, saying like, oh, you can't just eat candy every day. Like, technically you can eat candy every day and live a healthy life, but this debt spiral of like no one being able to afford a house, and the massive number, like the absolute insane increase in tuition costs, and the explosion of like totally useless degrees that don't have a positive ROI. Like the numbers on the productivity of our entire economy don't work. Like, for sure, some people will, go to school, they get kind of screwed, and they get a useless degree, and then they have to work at like a minimum wage job. And that's fine if it's a few people, but what if what if everyone ends up in perpetual debt and can never have a house and can never have children? Like, how does the economy function? And let's say BlackRock does buy all of the houses. Like, then what? And then they jack up the rent? Like, I think at some point people are just going to go feral. People are just going to be like go into their animal instincts and just be like, yeah, this whole society thing's not working. I studied a useless degree. I've owed the government for it for 20 years. Will never pay. Wow. What degree was it, if you don't mind my asking? Society creates the situation it's in. Everybody wanted what they got, and here we are. I don't know about everybody. I think it's a small minority of people that wanted the current state of things. Like the most egregious offense, I think, is like, which is, in my opinion, it's literally criminal, is ripping people off with creating all this propaganda and pressure and allowing 18-year-olds to take out massive debt to get degrees where there's no ROI. Like that completely doesn't make any sense. Like, in what other area, like, you buy a car to get to work because it's an investment. It helps you be more productive. And you buy a house you can live in. But like, how often do you buy a car on finance and then find out that the car is like if there's a material defects in the car, like if it's useless and you only get 10%, you drive it for like 10 days and then it breaks down. But it's supposed to be a new car. Like, you're promised a certain thing, you buy it, you go into finance, and then you have to pay off this like massive, supposedly new car, but it's just broke down immediately. You'd be able to sue and maybe go in the warranty, or there's recourse for that. If you buy a house and then everyone's like, hey, you can live in this house, and then you get there, but there's like holes in the house, and it's like it's by surprise, it's like it's condemned or something. So now you have to buy another house because you can't get what you were supposed to get out of it. But with an education, they're like, you're going to spend all this money on an education, and then you get it and you're like, oh wait, just kidding, it's totally useless. The ROI is negative, and now you're just standing there holding the bag. And the fact that at 18 in the US, you can't drink alcohol at 18, but you can make a decision that like affects the rest of your life. Why is that? Like, who thought this up and decided that this was a good thing? And it's not even just like fun. It's not even like 1% of people that this affects. It's like an entire generation. All right, I think that will correctly calculate the different solid column character states. Communications. I guess it's a generic sounding degree. I'm not sure how many years did you spend? Because communication is important. And I could imagine a scenario where you would actually have a curriculum for a communication degree that is actually very useful. But whether that's actually the case is 3 years. My degree is seen as useless. Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, another big problem is I think the percentage, we're also creating a society where the percentage of people who are considered defective, like I just feel like people fall for the tricks because it seems like the easy route. Maybe. I mean, certainly there are people who are lazy, and the blame should be on them. But there's, one example would be that like ITT Technical Institute that shut down, where they I think the government stepped in and shut them down like halfway through a semester, and there's all these people who are like, they wanted to work and get their degree, but they couldn't even get their degree because they like shut down the program halfway through. It's like, I mean, what do you do in that scenario? And it's not I think there's quite a bit too much. I think that certainly there are some people you should blame, but I think the percentage of people and the percentage of professions that are like low status professions is increasing. So if you think of I notice this especially in YouTube comments, like everyone is always super hating on other people for doing the wrong thing, saying like you should have done this, should have done that. But if you imagine the opposite case of like, imagine a person who did exactly the right thing, what does that even look like now? Just don't understand the value of proposition of college for most professions. Never did, now it's worse. Yeah, generally the argument is good, but the thing is, people are pressured into it so much now, and it's still even is like when you're a kid. I would say like most young people, they want to do the right thing, but the subset of people that are loyal to what older people tell them, like you have to go to college and get an education and stuff. And there's so many people that did that, and they didn't know they were getting ripped off. Like a long time ago, like in medieval times, I would imagine that, if you asked people like, what is a universally recognized and appreciated profession, is probably something like a blacksmith, or maybe like someone who works in the church, or there's like some member of the community who I think most like it is possible to aspire to some career path that everyone recognizes as like, this is the high status, virtuous career path to pursue. But I think the percentage of careers that could be categorized as that is going down. And I think there's a tendency for basically every single career path to be looked at as like some low status position. Like in some people have criticized what I'm doing with trying to focus on YouTube, but if you compare this to what I was doing, like I could just quit doing this and go back to being a professor at the college that was bringing in like massive numbers of people on immigration and then charging them insane tuition. And then and the pay, it was okay. It was okay, but for the amount of time it took to teach the courses, not so much. And then the other thing is like the ethical considerations, because like there were a lot of cases where there were a lot of cases where it's questionable if the students were getting their value worth out of what we were teaching them. And for a lot of courses, I would walk in and like see what the previous course shell was, and it was just like the previous professor wouldn't even make their own course material because it's so much work. So they'd end up just like linking to YouTube videos, or like they'd be like, okay, assignment number 1, go to w3schools.com and just like do these online quizzes, or like use this these external resources. Or like I remember in the operating systems course I taught, the previous professor had just uploaded a PDF of the textbook that I learned from when I was in school. Degree means you learn the bare minimum for a career. So we don't understand how tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn the bare minimum makes sense to anyone. Well, that's it. The thing is that you can only go on the information you're presented. The information, like that kind of cost-benefit analysis, the reality that needs to be filtered out, and I think that's happening right now, like through TikTok and social media and stuff. Feel so bad for international students. They can absolutely reported here. They're being unfairly blamed for the housing crisis. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate on people for trying to come here for a better life, but I really wish the government would, be a little bit more careful in, not letting every single person here. Because at least in Canada, we had immigration, we had like skilled immigration, but that's been like totally, completely removed. We just have like totally unfiltered immigration now. And that's, yeah, I mean, it's hard to even understand what's going on. There's so much, immigration's a really intense topic. People have strong feelings about it. So you see stuff about like people saying immigrants are getting, free food or money or whatever, and they're getting all these benefits from government. And I don't know to what extent that's true. And there's, I think Doug Ford, the Ontario Premier, said like there's a hotel or hotels that are full of refugees, and he said they've been living in there and we've been paying for them for like a year, and they're not allowed to work. And I didn't even know this was a thing here. And he's like, we're gonna make a change. We're gonna make it so that they can work, and we don't have to pay for them anymore. Like, that's kind of an improvement, but so I guess these kind of outrageous things you see on Twitter and stuff, there's truth to some of that this really is occurring, that we I mean, it's not smart, because every person that we let in, when we don't filter who we let in, that's some of those, like, there's tons of great, amazing doctors, lawyers, engineers, people who want to come here. Those people can't come here now because we don't have the capacity for it. See so many parallels between Canada and Australia on these issues. Yeah, I think Canada, the UK, and Australia are, I don't know, the global elites have the exact same plan in mind for all these places. Nice. All right, we'll let this run. And I think that'll be it for tonight. I'm getting closer. So that gives me now I'll have to calculate the set of occluded characters. And then I think once I have that done, then I can change the test to actually introduce the two multi-column characters. And then hopefully it'll work first try. There'll be no bugs. All right, have a good night, guys. I'll be back for day 113 tomorrow. Wish the devs I worked with were as good as you. Oh, thanks for the kind words. All right, talk to you later.